Oh, there we go. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am Molchep. With me here is Doa, and welcome to the Code A Finals. Yes,
that's right.
That's right. After a month and a half of grit and
gumption.
What else goes with grit? What goes,
I don't know.
Isn't there something that goes
gumption,
with grit?
effort, sweat,
yes.
blood,
after
tears.
a lot of sweat, blood, tears, after many, many games, the two nerds that are sitting behind us right now are going to be duking it out for the fame of winning Code A, and of course, the Code S seed that one can achieve by winning Code A, which is actually huge. The up and down matches are so difficult these days that getting straight into Code S is really an honor.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that there's some people who I've heard say that winning Code A is easier than qualifying for Code A out of the Code B qualifiers. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. But, yeah, getting that top spot in Code A, before, you still went to the up and down matches. It wasn't such a big deal. But now you get to go right into Code S. You can skip the up and down matches, and that's gigantic. Yeah, that's just huge. So both of these guys are going to be playing their hearts out. You and I were talking a lot about this all day,
man.
basically.
We've been talking about it all day.
We couldn't pick a favorite, really. I mean, and a lot of people are going, "Oh, what do you mean? GanZi's got it easy." And then a lot of people are saying the opposite, that MarineKing's got it easy.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to basically see what happens today, because that's the other thing, was we're trying to figure out what's gonna happen, who's gonna play what style, and it's been impossible to figure out. We were like, all right, well, we're not exactly sure what MarineKing's gonna do, because he's such a different player from the norm that he could do anything. And GanZi, of course, more of a solid player, likes to play standard, and then last week against Tasia in the semifinals just mixed it up and did these kind of crazy cheese builds for a couple of the games.
He's got a big bag of tricks for sure.
Exactly. So we have no idea what to expect from either one of these players, because neither, MarineKing. Also, I think GanZi was kind of tailoring his builds toward Tasia's style, and MarineKing doesn't really have a style these days.
Let's take a look at our round of 4 results. You guys already know what they are. There it is. Slayers GanZi taking out Slayers Tasia 3-0, and MarineKing Prime overcoming FXO Lenok 3-1. Hurts me to say it, Molchep, but it's true. And I like MarineKing, so I'm glad to see him here in the finals.
Yep.
And, we've been talking about it a little bit already. Let's kind of just break it down one player at a time. Let's talk about Slayers GanZi for a moment. And maybe I'm getting a little bit premature with this. We might have graphics popping up later, who knows. But let's talk about GanZi for a moment.
Yeah.
Really, really good Terran player. Obviously from the House of Terran Innovation. He's from Slayers. He's got a lot of standard play that's very, very solid. He doesn't miss really any timings or anything like that very often. But he also last week showed us that he's got a lot of creative all-ins and cheeses and things like that as well. So, he's got a big bag of tricks. MarineKing doesn't really know what to expect out of him.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. I definitely think that's the case. And GanZi, I've kind of poo-pooed him a little bit in the past. I've talked about how I still don't think he has the best multitasking late game, and so that might come into play. But, he's definitely been winning games either way. And so you can't really argue with results. He's been doing exactly what he needs to win, and that is exactly what a tournament is about in the end. That's
right. You got to play to win. And we really saw that last week against Tasia. I mean, it was really kind of funny, actually, because 2 of those builds, Games 1 and Games 3. Oh, by the way, guys, if you haven't gone and watched the Tasia versus GanZi series, it's actually really, really entertaining. It's one of the most entertaining TVTs I've ever seen. But Games 1 and 3 were basically cheeses. And Game 2 didn't go very long either. But, yeah, Game 1 and 3, he showed us some things that were really new, especially Game 3, doing that Proxy Barracks Marauder Rush. I don't think I've seen that since the beta. So
that was awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really cool, and it's got to make our other finalists kind of take note and be like, I wonder what I'm actually going to see out of this guy.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, I think you're right that GanZi was tailoring that a little bit to Tasia. I mean, Tasia, one of his faults is that he doesn't do a lot of scouting early game, and he kind of abused that. But
yeah, and I feel like, Tasia, he expected Tasia to do the sort of normal Slayers thing right now, which is go straight into mech. Kind of almost Star 1 style.
A lot of
go straight into mech.
Lately,
and going early Marauders is perfectly counter to early Hellions, and it's also perfectly counter to not having a lot of Marines early, which is what going straight to mech makes you do. So that's why I kind of think okay, GanZi was kind of thinking ahead in that sense, but he's not going to be able to do that against MarineKing. You have no idea what MarineKing's going to do, man.
Yeah, well,
he could do anything.
Well,
he could go straight into mech. He could go for mass bio. He does all kinds of different stuff. He's not really someone you can predict very well. There's GanZi himself.
Yep. And let's take a look at his results so far. Obviously, he took out Hoso Von 2-1, and also Startail Fruit Dealer 2-0. And so Fruit Dealer still in the GSL, a little bit surprising actually. Round of 80 took down Czech Prime 2-0. That was a pretty one-sided series. And then Teja, talk about another one-sided series. Round of 4 taking him down 3-0. And that's kind of the excuse me. That's kind of the thing with GanZI is a lot of his games have been more or less one-sided, pretty one-sided.
Yeah, and of course the other story going on here is the fact that MarineKing is considered to be kind of the king of second place.
Yeah, that's true.
Of
that's true.
StarCraft 2, and here he is. And Code A is obviously not the same as Code S.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot to prove here that he can actually win a tournament. Now he did win the that tournament in China.
Yeah, he did win the CPL.
But that wasn't quite as competitive for him, I don't think, as Code A or Code S.
He did win the tournament. I mean, it was a big deal. It's a good thing for him to get a first place. I believe that's actually his first place in like big notable tournaments. But he's never gotten a first place in a GSL. He's been to 3 Code S finals. He's did a couple open tournament finals as well, but always got silver.
Yeah, he lost, of course, to Nesty back in Open Season 2, and then lost to MVP in the finals of the first season of Code S.
Yeah,
so
lost MVP twice in 2 different finals, actually.
That's right, in the All-Star tournament too, right?
It was the World Championships tournament, that's right, and then that Open Season tournament, yeah, in reverse order, chronologically.
Oh, the All-Star tournament.
If you want to talk about it chronologically, I guess.
So, he definitely has some proving to do here. MarineKing trying to get his first kind of Korean gold medal for something. And, of course, really trying to get back into Code S. Man, this guy's been to the finals of the GSL twice. And here he is back in Code A. That can't feel too good for him to be kind of in the in a way, the qualification tournament for Code S.
Yeah,
so he really wants to get back into what he probably feels is his class of tournament.
The thing with MarineKing, when I watch him play, especially in TVT, it's kind of like, I've talked a lot about MarineKing like reworking his golf swing, right? Going back and saying my Mass Marine style isn't long sustainable, so I'm going to try to learn how to play more standard. And so that's when I watch him play, it's kind of like this guy who's really good, but he's like trying to play like the other Terrans, and it's just not working out a lot of times. So I don't know. I feel like MarineKing's having a bit of an identity crisis here. He needs to find that happy medium between playing that really risky, really fun style that was quite effective early on in the life of StarCraft 2 and balancing that out with a more standard, safe style that's going to get him, long-term results. And I don't think he's quite found that balance yet. And I think if there's anything that's going to cause his downfall today, it's going to be that. Yeah,
there he is. And, that's something that we were talking about also earlier today is how MarineKing, it seems like it's hard to figure out what's going on in his mind, man. I mean, first of all, here's his results. Getting to this place, he actually beat Hack, pretty good Terran player, in the round of 32, and Yu-Gi-Oh! In the round of 16. Then beat, again, another decent Terran, Jockji, 2-1, almost lost that series, and then beat Lenok 3-1 in the semifinals. But yeah, MarineKing, it's hard to tell if he's got some sort of crazy grand plan, he's some kind of mad genius, or if he's just making stuff and microing and spraying and praying. It's hard to really tell where he's coming from because he doesn't really follow a style that is really hard, that you can pin down at all, basically.
Well, he comes up with some pretty crazy builds too sometimes. I mean, we've seen him Thor Rush in a GSL finals before. He did that against MVP at the World Championships. He did it against, I forget, it was some other semifinal match too. But yeah, I mean, this guy does crazy all-ins from time to time as well. And he's one of those players, too, that the nerves can be kind of an issue with this guy. He does get nervous in these final situations. I mean, he's got his chewing gum. He's blowing some bubbles. So maybe that'll help him relieve a little bit of tension this time.
Hopefully. There they are. And actually, Slayer Sella, the coach of the Slayers team, was telling me earlier that GanZI is feeling a little bit nervous as well.
Yeah, well, he said he didn't really get as much sleep, which is normal. I mean, it's a final.
Dude, I didn't get any sleep last night.
I got a great amount of sleep.
Well, I mean, I got some this afternoon, but I was up all night watching MLG.
I was so tired, I went to bed before.
I finally went to bed before the last couple sets because I knew I needed to get some sleep for this thing. But I've been up all night the last few nights watching MLG. Those have been fantastic. We're watching Tastosis and, of course, Day9 and Husky over there as well.
Glad the hurricane didn't end up blowing everybody away. That's kind of nice.
Even the hurricane could not kill esports.
That's right. Yep, the real hurricane was actually inside the building, the tornado Terran.
That's right.
Yeah, he did pretty good. Yep. I have to catch up on a lot of those VODs. I miss a lot of them, sadly.
Some really good games.
But we are about to move into our first game. It is going to be on Antigua Shipyard, which is actually, the more I watch games on this map, the more it becomes kind of a favorite of mine. I really, really like this map. I don't know about the balance of it. I don't know how long it's going to stick around in the GSL, but for now, while it's here, I'm really liking it. Yep.
Well, I think in this first game, it's going to favor the Terran player personally, just the structure of the map.
Yeah, I think Terran is definitely the favored race on this map. I think no matter what happens, we're going to have a Terran win, at least on this first map.
Yeah. Maybe even on the second map.
Maybe. I don't know. Might have, Genius.
I guarantee our Terran's going to win at least 4 of the games today. Anyway, we are going to get started here pretty soon. Yeah. MarineKing and GanZI. MarineKing representing kind of the old school. He's been trying to catch up with the times and keep up with his peers and maintain his relevance. GanZI really coming up, kind of a newer face, trying to prove himself here in one of his first times in the GSL. We're going to find out who is going to take game 1 right now.
Whenever I see the two heads slide together, I expect to see some sort of if they mated collaboration thing in StarCraft style. Anyway, over on the right side of the map is our red Terran from the Team Slayers, fighting for a Code S spot, the Gonzo Terran. He is
Slayers Kanji.
Good amount of fans in the audience today. He's even got the APM to scratch his face a little bit. It's important not to have an annoying itch while you're trying to play. That's the worst thing ever. But on the left side of the map, from the team, primed out, is
MarineKing Prime Wii.
I heard the sound effect. I knew I had to end it quickly.
Yep.
There he is. Oh, he's even got time to stretch out and stuff. Wow. These guys pretty leisurely start to this game.
Neither player spamming it up too much. And
Todes.
Oftentimes, at the beginning of a Terran versus Terran, you'll see both players doing exactly the same thing for a long time, but we already have some deviation here. GanZI going for gas first.
Yeah. Well, in his match against Taja, he did tend to go gas first. Well, at least I think it was game 1 anyway. I actually spent all day watching a bunch of different TVTs. Now that I'm trying to remember them, I'm getting them confused. So he may have. But gas first can lead to a lot of things, so let's cover those. I mean, it can lead to a pretty quick Banshee, most likely, but some players lately have been using it to get really fast Blue Flame Hellions, too. At the very least, it does get you that factory out as soon as the barracks is done. That's the big important thing about it.
And, of course, we did see him beat Taja in one game by going for a Reaper expand, and he got the Reaper out so quickly that Taja could not cope with it, and he actually killed some SCVs with it. Yeah. So that is also a strong possibility. GanZI's barracks is about to complete. He's going to have 100 gas. We're going to see if it's a factory, which I'm probably guessing it's going to be a factory, but it could be something else. We're going to find out.
He's going to hide it a little bit out of the way down at the bottom of his base. And fast command center for MarineKing going 1 racks gasless expand. There's the factory for GanZI. And I wanted to mention, too, I'm glad you brought up the start of that game against Taja because he really showed, some pretty good unit control, too, in that he was able to kind of use the SCV to kind of block damage for his Reaper so he could kill off those 2 Marines.
Yeah, that was good.
And, so he's got really good unit control. MarineKing, of course, is a player that everybody knows as the guy who can micro. He's like Micro King, basically, And the styles he's been playing, we haven't really seen as much of that lately, but if the situation calls for it, he can certainly do it. So I'm really curious to see what he's going to go for. I think it's got to be Banshees. Yeah, there's the starport
there. And it's kind of interesting that neither player is scouting at all. They're both pretty set in their builds right now, and they're not too worried about what the other person's doing.
I've got this weird feeling that that's going to be something we're going to see a lot more in TVT in the future, is people just not scouting until a little bit later. I don't know, maybe Sho was way ahead of his time or something. But
well, it's a thing where, if you have it worked into your build that you're prepared for whatever they can send at you, then it doesn't really matter what they send at you. That's the theory behind it, at least. Sometimes they, you can get caught really off guard. I mean, if either player had done some kind of a crazy proxy 2 racks, the other one would have been screwed because they wouldn't have had any idea it was coming. They wouldn't have had very much to defend, since MarineKing went for a fast command center and GanZI went for a fast factory. But as it is, that's not happening, and GanZi's going for cloaked Banshees.
Yep.
He is getting the cloak upgrade along with that first Banshee.
Yeah, the big question is MarineKing going to have enough Marines out? Is he going to be able to control them well enough to fend off this Banshee? If he makes a Viking out of his starport, like I would imagine he probably will, because he is going for Blue Flame, then I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him hold that off relatively easily. Although if he decides to make a medevac instead, going for a Blue Flame Hellion drop might be in a bit of trouble.
And GanZi does, in fact, scout the location of MarineKing. He actually runs in there and sees the new orbital command floating into its expansion position, so he knows exactly where he is and relatively what his build has been.
And there goes the Banshee across the map there. Did MarineKing actually spot that? Nope, that was GanZi's SCV in the middle there. Second Banshee on the way. Cloak should finish almost exactly as that Banshee comes into the base. So nice timing, of course, from GanZi with that Cloak finishing.
And MarineKing has actually just moved all of his Marines out of the main into the natural, so he's going to have to pull them all the way back in here. Banshee has Cloak. The Viking is out. Cloak goes up. Is he going to scan for it? There's a lot of Marines there.
Oh, he's
needs
got
to be very careful.
Yeah, what is the energy on GanZi's command center right now? He doesn't have enough for a scan on his main one.
He does have on his expansion.
Okay, so he's just trying
to he has to wait until... Oh, is he going to get it? No.
Nope, that's not it.
He had to wait until his Marines were all close enough that they could get enough shots off. He could kill it in one scan, because now he's going to have to use another scan if he wants to kill that, unless he wants to wait for it to run out of energy.
Yep, well, I mean, he's a bit out. GanZi's being very, very careful with this Banshee. And the second one coming in on top of that. I really like it. You can take the first one back and repair it. The second one can do a lot of damage. These Banshees doing a huge amount of damage for Slayer's GanZi right now.
Yeah, this is actually beautiful play by GanZi.
Yeah.
Not keeping that first Banshee around long enough. Is he going to get this one? It's going to escape with
close
8 hit points after that last volley from that Viking.
Wow.
And it is about to run out of energy, but MarineKing has not decided to chase that Viking. He wants to keep it around in case of another one coming in.
15 workers killed for
Wow,
GanZi right now.
beautiful.
Not bad at all. And he kept both Banshees alive. That's what really makes it worthwhile. If you kill that many workers and you lose both your Banshees, it's like, well, I guess it's okay. But he kept both Banshees alive. That's awesome.
Sorry about that. Yes, and GanZi now moving across the map with a lot of Marines and tanks now.
Yep.
Remember, he's been on one base this whole time. He has not built an expansion. He's only been building units.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a scary force. He's got the Banshee alongside as well. He's going to bring those back in. He has not decided to repair them, unfortunately, so they're probably going to die pretty quickly, but he may pull the forces into the main and then attack the natural.
He's going to want to do that to get a nice siege positioning with those tanks. Siege mode is getting pretty close to finishing. Now that Banshee has got a pretty decent amount of hit points, but look at this. GanZi moving up onto the natural, and all the units are back in the main. He's going to get an absolutely fantastic position right now.
Wow. And siege mode is just completed, so he's going to be able to siege up in the natural of MarineKing. He's trying to push out now.
He's got to siege up.
And I don't know why he didn't siege up.
Oh, he actually doesn't have time. Oh, sieging up now. This might be the break MarineKing needs, or will it be too much to handle?
And it's getting very close here. Those tanks on low hit points in the front. The second last tank goes down, but the reinforcement tank is still there. The bunker completes, and he sieges up next to the bunker.
He's got to be careful not to lose those Marines to the Hellions. Whoa, lost a good amount of those, down to just 2 Marines. But now he's got MarineKing in a pretty tight spot.
Yeah, and 14 hit point Banshee in the front, and another Banshee coming in the back, killing off yet more SCVs. 17 kills on that Banshee.
It's Captain Banshee, man.
It is Captain.
Captain Banshee. Captain Reactor Killer. Look at this. MarineKing, I mean, he's basically dead right now. I mean, there's not a lot you can do to come back from a situation like this. He's going to lose his factory. Well, he does lift it finally, but I don't know, Voltrap. The supplies are looking pretty bad for MarineKing.
No, it does look as if GanZi is going to probably take game 1 here. Once he sieges up that close, he's going to be able to start hitting those barracks. MarineKing trying to make some marauders so they can survive the tank shots and getting close enough, but there's so many Marines and Banshee, of course, that I don't think those marauders are going to go down very quickly. Here comes the last break for MarineKing.
And it's not going to be anywhere near enough. Expected GG any second now. Most likely. Auto turret's going down, very helpful there.
Yeah, those are just to draw fire at this point, though.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's trying to repair his auto turrets.
Repair the auto turrets.
Well, you know, why not? It's okay.
Why not? Because you need to get out the game and get on to game 2. Here comes the last attack. I said it was last time before, but nope, he's still going to try and fall back.
You know, MarineKing's doing a good job of staying in this game a long time, but, I mean, GanZI has expanded, as we can see there. He's getting his second command center built. And as late as it is, he's just got too much stuff right now. I mean, he's got the siege tanks protecting everything. It's just going to be really tough for MarineKing to break out of that. If he does, it's going to be like the biggest comeback ever.
I mean, I think MarineKing just doesn't realize how far behind he is, basically. And here comes GanZI pushing in ever closer.
Yeah.
Finally getting another tank sieged up in position to hit the buildings here. Trying to get that tech lab.
You know, as long as he can keep MarineKing from getting his own siege mode too, that's going to help quite a bit.
Yeah, well, MarineKing hasn't even started it yet, so...
Well, he doesn't have cloak for his Banshee either, so it's not like he can
and GanZI's Viking chasing the cloak, or chasing the Banshee around.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to say, Moltrap. I think this game is pretty much over.
Yeah, this game is long over, and we're going to finally see the GG from MarineKing.
Yeah, so...
Very nice rush by GanZI.
Yeah, taking a really fast game 1 against MarineKing. And he really just did so much damage with those Banshees. I mean, he kept both of those alive. You can save a huge amount of money by doing that. Really, really solid play from Slayer's GanZI in game 1.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you were talking about how well those Banshees were controlled.
Yeah,
I mean, he got 15 SCV kills with those 2 Banshees, didn't lose a single one, then came back in with the Banshees, used them to harass the back, draw the forces out of position, and that was just like 3 Banshees he made.
Yeah.
And those basically were just such a tactical advantage that he was able to clinch the game off of that, and of course, just following it up with that nice rush. A little bit of lack of control there, not sieging up early enough, but still just had too many forces.
Yeah, it's tough when you're pushing into your opponent's space like that. I mean, it's hard not to lose 1 or 2 tanks to some Marauders and things like that. But the big thing, the backbone of that was definitely the Banshees. And you see a lot of Terran players move in TVT, get, 3-4 kills, and then lose their Banshee. Even like some of the top Terran players, like I'm talking like Bomb or MVP, these guys, a lot of them are losing their Banshees, even though they don't want to. And GanZI kept his alive.
Yeah.
A little bit of that was on MarineKing, though. He didn't quite have the units in position. That first Banshee that went in, if he would have gotten his Marines under a little bit better, he would have been able to kill it. So you have to take MarineKing into account a bit. But, yeah, the Banshees, I mean, keeping those alive, they came in very useful later in the game.
Well, I mean, GanZI, he played really conservatively with those Banshees in that
it's our next map.
Oh, it is our next map.
It's dual site.
He didn't... He didn't let the Marines get underneath his Banshees. When he saw them coming underneath, instead of trying to get that last SCV kill and then losing the Banshee, which is what, like you were saying, a lot of pros do, he really said, all right, I'm going to make sure I keep this safe. I'm not going to go for that one more SCV kill. Instead, I'm going to keep this alive so I have it for later. And that kind of play enabled it. So he actually did escape. Even when he scanned, he escaped like 8 hit points on those Banshees. So dual site is going to be our next map. Like you mentioned, let's find out who is going to win that game.